they ended up doing a licensing deal with me for the optical screw, just in the United States. And they gave me over 7 figures up. And also I get a pretty nice royalty now. Yeah. And then I still have the rights to sell the repair kit in the U.S.
Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast, where we share stories of inventors who turn their idea into a product. Please visit our website at www.inventionstories.com. And now, from the Invention Stories podcast World Headquarters Studios in Morro Bay, California, is our host, Robert Baer.
Welcome to episode 13 of the Invention Stories podcast with our guest Nancy Tedeschi and her invention, the Snapit Screw. This episode is the second part of a 3-part series. If you've missed part 1, we invite you to listen to episode 12 first. We've got Nancy Tedeschi on the line from Daytona Beach, Florida. Nancy, let's talk about price and how much to charge for a unit of the Snapit Screw. $4.99, is that what you're charging on the website? I've tried once with my chunky little fingers. I would have gladly paid $10 to make that so much easier to do rather than sit there trying to repair my glasses. Why did you decide on a $5 price point?
I looked at what was out on the market and the little tiny screws you can get for like $1.99. And I asked people, and a lot of people said exactly what you just said. I'd pay $10 for that. But I didn't want to price myself out of the market. And when you go into buyers at like a Walmart or one of the places where I sell my screws, they're used to working with a eyeglass repair kit that costs $1.99. You tell them $4.99 and they kind of freak out, even though the technology is there. They don't want to have a $10 kit on their shelves. Although, like you, I would pay the $10 as well because it works. The other one doesn't work too well.
Yeah, that's an understatement. So you kind of knew exactly what you wanted, so it made the prototype process pretty easy for you?
Yeah, I actually went to a mechanical engineer, and I knew what I wanted, and he drew it for me, and then I took it to the manufacturer. I actually made the prototypes, which were actually pretty much what I ended up with anyway, in Rochester. I went to a company who did all the screws for Bosch and Lomb, and he had been a 3rd-generation optical screw maker, and he almost died when he saw my screw. He went, "Oh my God, this is awesome," you know. So that was my first one. But then, you know, I wanted to use the guy. I wanted a made-in-America product, you know. Just not possible. I mean, he charged 18 cents to buy a screw, and you just can't do it at 18 cents a screw, you know? So I get it for like 1/6 of that now, you know? I mean, that's what we need in this country is instead of paying for all the people riding our system, we need to set up some kind of a fund for inventors where they supplement the cost so you can stay in the U.S. and make it as opposed to going over to China and making it. I'd certainly rather buy it and do it here, but it's not economically feasible.
What's the downside of having them all shipped? Have you ever had like a whole bunch of them made wrong or get stuck in customs?
I haven't had anything. Well, I had some guys try and steal my money once in China. He took my money and he said and it was a guy that I had done business with, and he took my money and I was getting a container of them. It was like 200,000 kits.
Wow.
Shipped over here, and he took my money and disappeared.
Oh.
But I ended up tracking him down. He was a guy from New York City, and I got lucky because the factory that was working with him, he was like the broker, honored my deal and helped me through the process. But yeah, you got to be careful in China because if you don't have somebody that speaks their language and knows what they're doing, forget about it. You can't do it. You just can't, you know. You can't. I hate to say this, but they'll walk all over you.
Yeah, we don't want that. How did you decide on the packaging for the Snapit Screw?
Well, I had
the coloring and
yeah, I just changed it actually. So when we hang up, I'll email you the new package.
All right.
It's kind of nice. I had a graphic designer help me with it. And I don't know if you know that in 2010, I actually found my first distributor for Snapit in the optical industry. And the company, that's what they do. They sell all kinds of optical instruments, and they actually helped me with the package as well. Got feedback from them.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart.
Yeah.
How was the patent process? You said you had gone through it previously for your charms. Did you go through the same route so you kind of knew what to expect and how long it would take. And
actually,
how much it cost.
the patent for the screw was harder than the one for the charm because it's so simple. Everybody thinks, why isn't it out there? It's like even the patent office, this can't be patentable. It's got to be out there somewhere. It took me over 3.5 years to get a patent on it, and I got final rejections like 3 times. We just fought our way through it.
Wow. So that sounds like you accrued some serious cost.
Oh, yes. And I made a lot of mistakes there too, because I was telling you before about, like, I have patents all over the world. I have actually 5 patents on my screw in the U.S.
Wow.
But what I did with the European market cost me about $55,000 to get my patent over there. And I'd never do it again because of what I was telling you before. If I'm making the product in China and bringing it over to Europe, they can't compete with me no matter where they would have to make it in China or Japan or South Korea, North Korea on the brain after the news all week. And if they tried to make it in Europe, I would be at, like, let's just say for an example, I'd be at $3, they would be at $18 because just the cost of the goods to be made over there. So one of the lessons I learned was not to patent in Europe. Just patent in the country where you're going to manufacture it and make sure that any country that can compete with that country in manufacturing, you patent it there. And then you guard that country because they can't send it out. They can't make it unless I ask them to make it. And so had I known what I know now, I wouldn't have cared about I would just have dumped every single dollar, even the US dollar, into China. Because nobody's making Snapit screws in the United States. Nobody's making optical screws in the United States anymore. Very few. There might be one guy, but he's like 20 times more expensive than anyone else. So it's really strategic how the patent system works, It's very strategic.
And then it seems like you were saying, if you have somebody infringing on your patent, it's not like they're going to go after them. It's like you've got to go after them and fight and spend your money. Yeah, it's a messed up system.
It is. And the nice thing about Europe is if you have a lawsuit over there, the person who loses pays. That's it. You pay my fees. If you lose to me, you pay all my legal bills. So they think twice about going and doing stuff like this.
That sounds like the way it should be.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand our system here. But, I do understand the part about people who don't have enough money that need to sue somebody and they can't because they don't have the funds to. It's kind of like a backward system because, like, if I'm really poor and I want to sue you and you're really rich, I can't find a lawyer to help me because I don't have the funds, so I don't have a shot. And that hardly seems right to me.
Doesn't seem right to me either.
It just, why doesn't the rest of the country think like this, though? It's like, come on.
Well, hopefully they will. Hopefully change is coming.
I'm
hope
optimistic. So. I am too. I'm with you.
Did you ever consider contacting somebody who does something in the industry and try to get a licensing agreement? And obtain
I have one now. One now. So what I did was the company that I went to distribute my screw to the now there's 2 avenues for my screw. There's the repair kit, and then there's the opticians that just use the single screws to put their glasses together. So when I initially started, I thought the easiest target for me would be the opticians because they work with glasses every day and they're fixing glasses every day. So I ended up going to a company in Long Island, and that was in 2010. And when I showed it to them, I actually ended up getting money up front. Nobody ever gets money up front when you don't have, any sales or anything. You just get a royalty. But I gave them an exclusive distribution agreement to sell to the optical industry, not my consumer repair kit, just the optical. And I did that with them from November of 2010 to December of 2012. And at the end of that period, they ended up doing a licensing deal with me for the optical screw, just in the United States. And they gave me over 7 figures up, and also I get a pretty nice royalty now. Yeah. And then I still have the rights to sell the repair kit in the U.S.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
So it's been a really great relationship then, huh?
Yeah, they're really good to me. I love them. That's actually the largest lens company in the world. They're called SLR. They just got bought out by Luxottica. So they're like a $5 billion a year company based out of France.
Okay.
So, yeah. It's been quite the journey. Yeah. And now I'm trying to build my European market and my Asian market, and I'm going to do the same thing there, just license it after we build the market.
And how do you go about building the market? How do you educate? How does that work?
Well, I have a guy in London who's partners with me in the European market, and he has an office in London. And we go to a lot of trade shows. I mean, we have people standing up in line to see this screw when we go to trade shows because all the opticians just, they can't believe it. They can't believe something so simple hasn't been here before. And they come and they stand in line and they get so excited when they see it. We demonstrate it. It's like the best thing since sliced bread for them.
Let's take a break. You're listening to the Invention Stories Podcast, Episode 13, Nancy Tedeschi and the Snapit Screw Part 2. This is the second part in a 3-part series. The Snapit Screw can be purchased at our website at www.snapitscrew.com. At the end of each episode, I invite listeners to email us with questions or comments about the show. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about podcasting as well. You can email us at inventionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Now, the question we've been asked most oftenly recently is what kind of microphone should a beginning podcaster use? Now, the one that I've listened to and it seems like most of the top podcasters use is the Heil PR40. It's terrific. And if you're someone who wants to do something and do it right, do it once, the Heil PR40 is the microphone for you. If you would like to purchase the Heil PR40 and like to support the Invention Stories podcast, we invite you to go to www.inventionstories.com/PR40. Now, we use the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 here at the Invention Stories podcast, and it costs less than $80, and I believe it's the best bang for the buck. To purchase the Audio-Technica ATR 2100, please visit www.inventionstories.com/ATR. Now let's get back to the interview. Now, Nancy, I wanted to talk to you about your website, and the website is www.snapitscrew.com. I know you used to have your personal website there, but it didn't seem to be up anymore. But,
no, it's going to go back up, but I'm just redoing a little bit of stuff on it because I want to start blogging.
Yeah, you're successful. It seems like it would be a great thing for you. Did you design the website when you were starting, or now do you have consultants that advise you on what to add and things like that?
When I first started, I had a website designed by a friend of mine in New York. I was living in New York at the time, upstate New York. And a girlfriend of mine was a graphic designer, and so she designed it, but we just redid it. And we're rebranding. We have a new package, and so I hired someone outside of my field. I can't do that kind of stuff.
Sure. Why are you repackaging and redesigning?
When I first started, I didn't really know what I was doing, so I just put something together. And you got 30 seconds to get somebody's attention and keep their attention. So I hired a guy out of Michigan who did a lot of really famous commercials. He's a friend of a friend, and he helped us redesign it so we actually have an eyeball on the cover with a pair of glasses with an eye looking at you, and it's in color, blue color. So it's like something staring at you. And we didn't have anything on my packages that said no more tiny screws, fix your glasses in seconds. So, over the period of time where you realize what's important to the consumer, which I knew nothing in the beginning. So now I understand it. And so we rebranded it to get the consumer's attention.
Yeah, eye-catching is, and you're doing eye-catching with an eyeball. That's
yeah.
How about work-life balance? When you were first starting, it was all up to you if you were earning your living off of it. Were you working 14-hour days? And how do you balance personal life, work, and life?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've never worked for anybody in 30 years. So before I started this venture, I ran a mortgage bank, and then I owned a title insurance company in upstate New York. So I've never had a boss per se. So in the very beginning, I was working too much, but now I think I have a really good balance. I play pickleball every morning for 3 hours.
Pickleball?
Pickleball. You know what pickleball is?
No.
It's the fastest growing sport in America.
Ah.
It's a cross between tennis and ping pong. And you play it outside on a court about the third of the size of a tennis court. And there's 2.5 million people in America that play now. By the end of next year, they estimate 10 million. So Google pickleball sometime. It's the greatest fun ever. But that's my new business. I just started a new company called Pickleball Bella because I'm designing pickleball clothing for the pickleball industry because there's nobody making pickleball clothes. So I just got back from Guatemala. I just found a factory over there to produce my pickleball clothes. And really the difference between pickleball and tennis clothes is just we're incorporating the pickleball images, the theme of pickleball into our fabric. We're designing our own fabric. So that's my new venture.
I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah.
Because I like ping pong. Tennis is
you'd
cool.
love it. It is the best. You'll get addicted. I'll tell you if you go. I know they have it in California. It's pretty big out there, actually. It actually started in Seattle in the 60s, but it just became really big in the last couple of years, and it's like hugely grown. I actually went to the U.S. Open pickleball tournament a couple months ago in Naples, Florida, but they're actually starting to pay the athletes now. It's ground floor opportunity for me, and I thought, you know what? Let's do something fun. Instead of screws, let's do clothes. Let's do something that I can actually get excited about. So I went over to Guatemala last week. I spent 5 days. I interviewed 5 different factories, got a graphic designer here actually making the fabric. So we're going to do print fabric. So he make the print and we send it over there and they actually make a fabric out of what we design. And then I've already got the clothes over there to design. So probably in the next month, I'll have samples of my product.
Well, I'll have to check it out. I'm actually trying to imagine what pickleball is before I actually see what it is. You know, it's like life. If you go somewhere, you imagine it to be one way, and then when you get there, it's totally different.
It's like an oversized ping pong paddle, okay? It's bigger than a ping pong paddle, and the ball's like a wiffle ball. And you play 2 people on each side, and most of the game is played at the net, so it's all fast reactionary stuff. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I played it. I've been playing almost 2 years now, but I used to be a runner, and I would run. There's a track over by the pickleball courts, and I would run 5 miles every day with my 3.5-pound poodle. And all the people at the pickleball courts would say, "Get over here and play." And I'd go, "I'm not playing that game." Well, one day they got me over there, and I quit running, and I've been playing pickleball ever since. It's addictive.
I believe in exercising with something that you enjoy. You know, I never liked lifting weights or definitely not running. I mean, that's why I got beat up as a kid because I couldn't run very fast. But I think it sounds like a lot of fun.
You'd love it.
Is it something they play on the beach?
No, it's on a court.
Okay.
But they do have, I mean, we're on the beach, but our courts are across the street. So, no, it's not on sand. It's actually on like a pavement, kind of a soft pavement. But you got to Google it because just Google a pickleball match and just watch one of the pickleball matches.
I'll watch a YouTube video.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay.
So you have to check out Pickleball Bella in another month. I've already got my website set up. I just have to put merchandise and stuff on it. But I'll be the first one in the world bringing pickleball clothes to the world. Nobody's done it yet.
Let me get back to it. What should inventors avoid? What's not a good use of their time and money? Is there something that you look back and say, "Gosh, that was a waste"? Yes,
actually. Don't hire other people to do your job because they're not going to do the job that you're going to do. For example, when you're hiring salespeople out there to try and bring your product to the market, make sure if you do that and you're going to pay a commission that you get something in writing that says what they're going to do and give them only a certain amount of time to do it. Because these salespeople that rep these products, they got like 50 products in their bag. You're just another toy in the bag. They don't care about your product the way you care about it. They care about what money they make. So if it's your product they make money on or someone else's product, they don't care as long as they're making money. So I made a mistake of letting a company take my product for the first year, the consumer part of it, and rep it out, and they didn't do anything for me. Wow. So I took it back, and that's when things change. You have to control your own destiny. You think, okay, well, I'll give it to them, and they can do all the work, and I'll give them 10%. Well, it's not that easy because it doesn't work that way. So I've taken the product back from them. That was a couple years ago. And now it's starting to take traction, the consumer part of it. But don't sell your product short and don't give it to anybody because nobody's going to have your own passion.
You've been listening to episode 13 of the Invention Stories podcast with our guest, Nancy Tedeschi, and her invention, the Snapit Screw. I want to thank Nancy for being our guest. This episode is the second part in a 3-part series. The Snapit Screw can be purchased at our website at www.snapitscrew.com. If you're an inventor who would like to be featured on the Invention Stories podcast, have a suggestion on how we can make this podcast better, or would like to become a sponsor, please contact us at inventionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we invite you to give us a positive review at iTunes. An easy way to get there is www.inventionstories.com/review. More information and show notes can be found at our website, www.inventionstories.com. If you would like to purchase the Heil PR40, we invite you to go to www.inventionstories.com/PR40. To purchase the Audio-Technica ATR 2100, please visit www.inventionstories.com/ATR. Thank you very much for listening today, and please tell a friend.